Good morning. I'd like to call this County Commission meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please silence all your cell phones if you have them. And take a moment of silent prayer. Thank you. I'll begin the roll call this morning with Commissioner Doug Smith.
Here.
Commissioner Mike Stephen.
Here.
Commissioner Vicki Cobb.
Here.
Commissioner Mike Smith, is he on the phone?
Here.
He is. And Commissioner Jeff Culberson is present. Public comment. I have 3 people signed up for public comment. If you could come forward to the podium, state your name and address, and you have 3 minutes. I have Ron Seaton first. Morning, Ron.
Good morning, gentlemen. So I wanted to speak about the proposed 1-acre tracts at 178th and Evans Road. It's zoned now for 5 acres, and there's a good reason for that because 1-acre lots don't fit that area. Where pretty much everything from 78th on down, 178th is all 10 acres, 15 acres. You know, we had a 70% protest signature out of that 1,000 feet that went around that. That'll tell you how much we're opposed to that. And even before I did that, I went around to ask people. I had 31 signatures that are up 178th Street that don't want this. We're not against change. We get that. But let's do something reasonable, not 1-acre lots. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with that corner, but it's a blind. When you pull from 178th out onto Evans Road, you have to almost put the whole front end of your car out into Evans Road to see to the east. When people are coming from the east, they can't see if a car is even there. It's blind. It's dangerous for everyone that lives on 178th Street. When they widened 178th Street and did the improvements, they said they weren't going to do that corner. They never did. So he's 1-acre tracts he wants to put on that hill. Well, you have a blind hill that comes down where he wants those driveways. It's already dangerous, and you know, people don't drive 35 miles an hour. They go as fast as they can. You're never going to stop it. It's the way it is. Yeah, we'd like to not see people do 50 miles an hour down the road, but that's not the case. We also have a creek right in there, so you're going to put 1-acre lots in there and have, any way you look at it, you're going to run off in that creek without having proper saturation of ground. I don't care if you put an engineered system or whatever. You put multiple houses in there, you're going to have runoff. It's going to go right in that creek, and that creek is a major waterway that runs to Stranger Creek. You'll have increased traffic going on to State Avenue. You don't have an acceleration lane on to State Avenue. You're already having accidents there. You're coming from the east to turn on 178th. There is no turn lane. It's dangerous every time we turn. You get rear-ended. Yeah, you say, well, go down to 166th, right? Well, if there's a way to turn, then let's put a turn lane in there. Get the infrastructure in there before you start these things. I know it's an area where you want dense population, but you have no sewer lines. You don't have the infrastructure yet. It's just a real nice area to keep it that way. And the last one, they said there isn't any farming. There is farming there. Up 178th, up 174th. I bale my hay. My neighbors bale hay. We have cows. Up the other way, there's still farmland. They're still cutting hay. We're still rural. We're not in city limits. We are rural, Leavenworth County. And it's a desirable area to live, and it's desired because of the way it is right now. We're not against change, but let's be reasonable about it. 1-acre lots don't fit the area. And that's my point, and I hope you guys consider that. We had 70% protest. That's a lot of taxpayers. We all pay our money to make sure that these kind of zoning regulations are upheld. We're not against change, but 1 acre is ridiculous, my opinion, and everybody that lives around there. The only people that wouldn't sign are his buddies. So that'll tell you something. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next up, I have David Childs. Morning, Dave. If you could state your name and address, and you have 3 minutes. Thank you.
Good morning. David Childs, 17843 178th Street. I live directly across the proposed site that Ron was just talking about, the change of zoning to 1 acre from 5. I've lived there for about 45 years, and I have 9 acres. We thank you for considering our concerns and the protest about the application, DEV 24-126, from R5 to R1. Nearly 70%, as Ron said, 70% of the homeowners within the 1,000-foot mark line were in favor and signed the petition of protest. Sewage is one of the issues. Small lots of 1 acre or less have not been allowed for safety and functional reasons, and the county doesn't presently have any rural system or plans for a rural system of sewers or sewer mains or of processing the waste. Increased traffic from numerous small lots will cause more noise and road safety concerns, not only 178th and Evans Road, but on access to major roads like State Avenue, where the traffic is already pretty much to its maximum for safety. Like Ron said, there's been accidents there. Small lots of 1 acre or less would be more appropriate near an existing, more semi-urban areas where sewers and other services, as well as better road access, would be more easily attainable. It would be more cost-effective and sensible. Allowing small lots of 1 acre or less will seriously change the present semi-rural area that current homeowners have specifically chosen the acreage of 5 acres or more, sometimes considerably more, and who pay considerable taxes for that. We respectfully request that the proposed zoning change to R1 in this area be denied, and that the existing zoning remain RR5 for the positive future of Leavenworth County and all homeowners. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I have Crystal Blackdeer. Good morning, Crystal.
Hi, sir. How are you?
Good.
My name is Crystal Blackdeer. I live at 17801 Donahue Road. And I'm here to represent Leavenworth County Humane Society, which is at 100 West Gilman Road in Lansing. So, members of the Board of County Commissioners, I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you today on behalf of Leavenworth County Humane Society. My purpose is to prepare you for the questions and comments that will undoubtedly come your way, beginning today if they haven't started already. Since relaunching in 2009, Leavenworth County Humane Society has rarely turned away a found pet from the unincorporated areas of Leavenworth County. We've sheltered thousands of dogs and cats who might otherwise have been ignored or worse. In 2016, we first contracted with the Leavenworth County Sheriff's Office to accept pets that they transferred to us or found pets that citizens brought from the areas in which the sheriff is the animal control authority. In 2021, we concluded and have been operating under a similar subsequent contract. For 8 years now, more than half the pets we care for come from areas where the sheriff is the animal control authority. But for 8 years, we've operated at a significant deficit when it comes to caring for those pets. Instead of the contract paying for our services, we rely on gifts, grants, and endless fundraisers to keep us afloat. This year, we propose contracts to Baser, Lansing, and the Sheriff's Office based on the percentages of pets we accept from their areas. Baser and Lansing signed contracts that adequately compensate us for the services provided. And that was during the summer. We concluded those contracts in the summer. The Sheriff's Office has declined to do so. No counteroffer, no negotiations. The Sheriff suggested we talk with you, the Commission, and Mr. Loffrey referred us back to the Sheriff. I feel like we're being the man in the middle and fighting between two competing authorities, and it's the community that suffers because of that. What we propose to the Sheriff's Office is indeed a large increase. That fact highlights, however, how little the Sheriff's Office pays for our services now. Less than 5% of our annual budget, though half the dogs and cats come from areas where the Sheriff is the animal control authority. What we proposed is about a quarter of our expenses. What the Sheriff's Office and the county have offered is nothing. So in September, we advised the Sheriff's Office and this body that if a new contract was not agreed upon by December 10th, we would no longer be able to accept pets from the areas in which the Sheriff is the animal control authority. Districts 1 and 5 represent the largest proportion of the county strays brought to us. District 2 has some coverage from Leavenworth Animal Control. Part of District 3 enjoys services under our contract with the City of Baser, and District 4 is largely covered by our contract with the City of Lansing. We worked very hard over the years to create and maintain a good relationship with the Sheriff's Office. We value that relationship. We don't want to be in conflict. We consider our mission not just as a service to the pets, but as a service to the citizens of the county as a whole. Our sheltering contributes to public safety and health for the good of communities in our county. It relieves suffering, reunites pets with families, and places pets in new homes. This is not a decision we want to make. It's a decision we have to make. We're in danger of closing altogether if we continue to accept these county dogs and cats without adequate compensation. We owe it to the cities who pay their fair share to continue to uphold our end of those contracts. So here we are. From today forward until a mutually agreed contract is concluded, when people from areas where the Sheriff is the animal control authority contact us or come to us with a found pet, we'll refer them to the Sheriff's Office and to the governing body. We've created a handout that gives them publicly available email addresses and phone numbers. I stand for your questions and thank you for your time.
Thank you very
I
much.
just have a couple questions.
Yes, sir.
On your amount for Baser and Lansing, what were the amounts of those contracts?
I can give all the amounts of those contracts. Baser pays us $750 a month, and Lansing pays $3,500 a month. They, in fact, paid us ahead for December.
And were those increased amounts from previous years?
Oh, absolutely.
Like
Everybody increased.
a
Significantly.
percentage increase?
I'd have to figure their percentages for you, but Lansing used to pay per pet instead of a flat fee per month. And we decided from a budgetary standpoint, it was better to look at a per monthly payment so we could anticipate it. So instead of paying per pet, $100 per intake and $30 a day for the impound time, we changed it to a flat fee on this contract.
That's all I have.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I don't have anybody else signed up for public comment. We'll move on to administrative business. We have a service recognition for Pat Barnhart. Vicki, did you have something for that you wanted to give?
I'd like to provide for Pat, if she would please come forward.
Pat, you want to come on up?
It's my
John?
privilege to be able to do this because I've been working with Pat in various capacities for many years, and I'm sure she's looking forward to her retirement. But her tremendous public service to our communities has just been amazing over the years, and so much appreciated. So we have an appreciation award presented to Pat Barnhart, an appreciation for your outstanding service, 41 years of dedication as the chair of the Drug and Alcohol Abuse Council. Thank you for everything. You made a difference. And the Drug and Alcohol Council, the prevention work that's done through that organization is amazing, and the number of small organizations and projects is just incredible. So we thank you so much for your service and your time. Please accept this as a token of our appreciation.
I thank you.
Thank you.
John, would you like to say a few words?
Thank you. Yes, I want to say something. Yes. First of all, I was not the chair for the entire 41 years. I've been on the council for 41 years. And a lot of people have served on the council over the years. I'm going to keep myself out of trouble by not mentioning any names. But they were dedicated people and talented people who thought the education and prevention of drug and alcohol abuse, especially among youth, was an important part of the community service, and they were willing to give their time and energy for that. And every one of us who ever served on this council, hoped that at some time somebody said, "I'll take your keys because you've had too much to drink." Or, "Soda for me, I'm the designated driver." Or, "I don't want to start smoking. I've seen what smoking has done to my grandfather's health." Or, "Don't take that pill. It's not your prescription. You don't know where it's been or where it's come from, and it may kill you." And if just once that has happened, then all of our work, through all of our projects and everything, has been well worth it.
Good point. Yep. Thank you. John, would you like to say something? Come on in.
I've got big shoes to fill. I'm the new chairman of the Leavenworth City County Drug and Alcohol Abuse Council. Pat, on behalf of our council, thank you for your many years of unselfish service, exemplary leadership, and support as chairman and chairperson for the Leavenworth City County Drug and Alcohol Abuse Council. You've given generously of your time, your knowledge, your talents, and you've instilled your positive attitude in all of us. We're incredibly lucky to have someone like you that goes above and beyond and to help our community. You help us make the team that we are, and I hope that you understand how important that really is. On behalf of the entire council, I want to thank you for your guidance. We're thankful to have you, that you have decided to stay as our advisor, and we appreciate your loyalty and your valuable contributions you've made throughout your time. Here's to many more years.
Thank you.
And thank you, commissioners, for allowing us to do this. I mean, this is something that I hold near and dear to my heart. You all know, a lot of people in the audience don't know who I am, but losing a child to a drunk driver is probably the most devastating thing that's ever happened in my life. So I enjoy and I appreciate, and I do take this to heart. We're a very transparent organization. Anybody that wants to look at our books, anybody that wants to look at who we give money to, I'd be more than happy to show them to you. So thanks for letting me talk.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good. Move on to update on the fire district.
Commissioners, we have now completed our initial meetings with all of the fire districts in the city of Lansing. I think they went fairly well. We are working on agreements. Basically, as I stated before, there will be a couple of options for the commission. I intend to have it on next week's agenda as an action item for you to give us direction on which route you want to proceed with, and then the following week we will have the agreement on the agenda for your approval. If you have any questions, I'm happy to go over them, or if you want to meet in my office and ask any questions, I'll be happy to do that too.
I think the newspaper pretty much spelled it out, I believe.
They did attend the one meeting, and I think it was adequate
I think it was an accurate story in the paper. I take it, so that's all I need.
There wasn't anything that was in the paper that was inaccurate, was there, Mark? I didn't see anything. But
I obviously didn't cover everything that was discussed, but I don't think the information.
there's no
was there.
misinformation in there, I guess is what I'm asking. Okay, that's what I thought. Okay. Unfilled positions policy.
Commissioners, we amended a policy earlier this year, the budgeted but unfilled positions policy that allows the transfer of funds from departments if they have unspent money in their payroll. I have reviewed the current budget. I've reviewed the current expenditures. There were no expenditures that were made out of any of those funds that weren't appropriate or towards payroll. However, with the increase in benefits for the year and some of the other issues with payroll that are unique to this year, I think I shared that with you, that there are 27 payrolls in this year. Every 11 years when you pay biweekly, there's 27th payroll. So with those things, there simply is not money to transfer out of any of those funds this year. I just wanted to give you that update. We will continue to follow that policy going into next year.
Anybody have any questions for Mark on that?
No, we adopt a budget, and it is what it is.
Okay.
That's why it's important we stick to the budget.
It makes it easier.
Yeah.
That's it.
Have anything else, Mark? Okay. Then we'll move on to consent agenda.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second that.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, begin voting with Commissioner Doug Smith.
Aye.
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 Mike, did you hear that?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Consent agenda passed. Got it. Thank you. Formal board action. Consider a motion to approve Charter Resolution 2024-1 exempting Leavenworth County, Kansas from certain provisions of KSA 65201, specifically KSA 65202, subsection C, regarding annual sanitary inspections of school buildings and grounds by the local health officer. Morning, Jamie.
Commissioners. Before you is the charter resolution as discussed in our board study session. I did what the commission asked and reached out to all the superintendents, received correspondence back with no oppositions from any of the superintendents. So I'm before you to have the authorization for the Board of County Commissioners to sign the charter resolution.
This be considered another unfunded mandate the state wants us to do.
Absolutely.
Is that correct?
This would absolutely fall under the state unfunded mandates.
We're removing ourselves from that.
Did the superintendents give you any indication of how each different school proceeds for these inspections?
For the most part, they just, I gave them the background on why we're not doing it. The other inspections are already being done in their schools.
Mm-hmm.
Their maintenance department already does the majority of those. Fire departments do their inspections of schools. So they all just said we are completely fine with not having to come into our schools.
So, very good. Well, so I guess we make a motion to approve Charter Resolution 2024-1 exempting Leavenworth County, Kansas from certain provisions of KSA 65-201, specifically KSA 65-202, subsection C, regarding annual sanitary inspections of school buildings and grounds by the local health officer.
I have a motion
Second?
and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, begin voting with Commissioner Doug Smith.
Aye.
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 And I vote aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you.
I was going to save it for the end, but since you're here, I was going to go ahead and mention I had the meeting yesterday with General Beagle's ad hoc committee on the ambulance service to the fort. Went very well. They're in complete agreement that they should be paying something. So now we're just going to work on the numbers. We have till September, I think, to get that worked out. I think that contract that you sent me. So I told them that Mr. Miller and Mr. Lothar would be more than happy to work on the numbers with them. So they just want to get some information on how to break down, what the charges are and what the fees are and everything. So just coming up with a dollar amount now is where we're at. So I'll let you know when they want to get a hold of you guys for the next step. Thank you very much. Next, consider a motion to approve five-year lease agreement with Foley Equipment for 2 Caterpillar motor graders in the amount of $70,441.36 per grader. Thanks, Bill.
Good morning, Commissioners. Today, for your consideration, we do have the 5-year lease agreement with Foley Equipment replacing the 2019 model Caterpillar motor graders with an annual lease payment of $70,441.36 per grader. This lease does include all filters, fluids, and a warranty for the life of the lease. We did receive 2 bids. This bid is considerably lower than the second bid with John Deere. As you can see in the bid tabs, they did provide the overall price of each machine. And review that over the previous several years, these machines have gone up considerably in cost, just like everything else. What is not part of this, which we have not done in recent history, is a trade-in allowance for the existing machines, number 23 and 24. Over the past several years, we have had really good success selling these machines on Purple Wave and getting them into that auction system. We have seen from other counties that they have, in the past 6 months, not been as successful with that, so we will be listing for trade-in values on these and comparing those to what the market shows and what the more recent bids have been on the Purple Wave auction website, just to have a comparison cost. But that will come back before you at some point when these are delivered as a surplus RV.
1986, we paid $68,000 per grader. They weren't Caterpillars, but so there has been a little price increase. We're going to pay more for a 1-year lease than we did owning them.
Yeah, and I think at around 2020, I don't have the numbers here before me, but if I remember fairly correctly, I think we were paying somewhere around $275,000 for them the previous 4 years ago.
They've almost doubled in 4 years.
Oh, no.
Yeah, they've gone up in price just like everything else. Actually, they haven't gone up as fast as dump trucks. Dump trucks have gone up faster, but they are considerably more. They also have done away with the 5-year guaranteed buybacks, and they switched to a 5-year guaranteed trade-in, and now they no longer offer that. So our best option is the government leasing. Maintain that price. It also provides a fixed price point for budgeting purposes, so it's not going to be variable for the years that we do have additional purchases.
It's a governmental discount. I mean, a contractor could not lease this machine for this.
Not to my knowledge, I would assume that they could not unless they had some sort of amazing purchasing capacity and they were just a huge company. But I highly doubt that the private sector could compete with this pricing.
I don't have any questions. I move that we approve a 5-year lease agreement with Foley Equipment for 2 Caterpillar graders in amount not to exceed $70,441.36 per grader.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Begin voting with Commissioner Smith.
Aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. Thanks, Bill.
All right, thank you, Commissioners.
Next, Resolution 2024-26, a rezoning request from 5 to R2.5. Good morning.
Don?
For you is Resolution 2024-26, which is also case DEV 24118. It is a request to rezone the parcels at 18289 and 00000 Eisenhower Road from RR5 to RR2.5. This case was heard by the Planning Commission at their November meeting. The Planning Commission recommended on a vote of 4 to 3 denial of this request. The Planning Commission felt that this request did not meet the first factor and the third factor of the golden factors that you must consider. Since this item was recommended for denial, to approve it would require a supermajority vote. It was also tabled from last week's meeting. So if you have any other questions, let us know.
Could you? Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move that we refer this back to the Planning Commission for more explanation on why it doesn't fit the character of the neighborhood when there's related properties that are zoned similarly, and more specific information on number 3 as well.
I think we've done this before. I don't like adding layers of bureaucracy to things.
I'm just being consistent. Every time we've had the Planning Commission disagree with us, we've out of respect for them, sent it back.
And I think that we
I think
sent
it's
it back. The
last
one went
one.
back, and they didn't
And
give
then-
an explanation. They changed their
They
vote.
just changed their vote. They didn't
They
really give us
approved it. They
explanation.
didn't do. I mean, and we have. I think there's been inconsistency there because they voted for denial on this particular one, voted to approve the other one that came
Adjoining
before them on the same day at the in the same meeting. They're adjoining properties.
Well, that's my motion.
Second. I second that.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? The requested action matches the comprehensive plan, correct? I have a motion and a second. And further discussion? Hearing none, begin voting with Commissioner Doug Smith.
No.
Commissioner Stephen?
Yes.
Commissioner Mike Smith?
Yes.
Commissioner Cos?
No.
I vote no. So motion does not carry. I'll entertain another motion.
I move that we approve the rezoning request, Resolution DV 2024-26. Approve the rezoning as outlined in case DV 24-118. Based on it meets the comp plan.
I have a motion
Second.
and a second. Any further discussion?
Well, I would like to comment briefly on that is if we're going to handle it, if we're going to return, we're either going to do it one way or the other. We're either going to every time return it back to the planning. If we disagree with the Planning Commission, we're either going to have to decide that every time it goes back or it doesn't. If we're handling it one way one time and one way another time, I don't think we're being consistent. So to be consistent, I believe we should have sent it back. So I'm going to be consistent and say I'm not going to support it until we follow that procedure.
I just think that we need to. I think that we have repeatedly met with in work sessions as a commission and spoken with the Planning Commission, and I think that what my understanding of the wishes and the thing of the Board of County Commissioners is to follow the comprehensive plan whenever possible, and when it does meet the criteria of the plan, and when there is no really compelling reason not to move forward with those recommendations, that it's incumbent upon us to finally say to the Planning Commission, and we have staff recommendations that are recommending approval of these. It just seems very arbitrary to me, the thinking and the reasoning of the Planning Commission not to approve the zonings versus a consistent decision-making process by them. And I think it's time for the Board of County Commissioners that the message needs to be that we will override you if you don't follow all of the components
In the comp plan.
in the comp plan or have a really valid reason not to. And I don't see that when I've looked at what they had as their reasoning in the discussions, if you look at the videos, don't follow that.
Well, and I may agree that it needs to be overridden, but I think we've got to follow the same procedure every time for every individual that makes application, we either do it one way or the other, and we returned the last one we returned. This doesn't delay any kind of development, so by returning it, it'll come back. We'll see if they have additional comments or additional reasons to offer us. If they don't, it will happen. We're not causing any problem with development. So I think we should follow the same procedure we did before. So that's why.
I just think that we need to finish and clean up what we've started during this session of the commission, because we're going to replace.
Insanity, keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result.
Well, you have to be consistent in zoning decisions, or you're liable to be called
I'd say
arbitrary and capricious.
Decided to change, and we're not going to send them back. We're going to just vote how the comp plan is.
Well, that's not what we've been doing.
Well, then we're changing this day forward, maybe.
Well,
But I understand what you're saying, Commissioner Stephen and Commissioner Smith. Absolutely, but this is one that looks like we send it back. They're just going to approve it and then send it back to us. So it's wasting another month or however long it takes to get the process.
That's what I'm saying, is that there was no consistency in what happened in the meeting.
Yeah, if it didn't.
On the last time. I'm saying
and I understand
there's
that.
a complete lack. I mean, it's
I
like,
just want to follow the same rule every time.
But then
and if it didn't follow
board
the comp
needs to
plan
as well.
Yeah.
They didn't. So that's what I'm saying, is that I think that there needs to be consistency in that process as well, and it did not happen in this particular case.
That's where I see the inconsistency, is what they decided. And like I said, the other ones that we sent back like this, if they match the comp
And if
plan,
this was going to delay a development, I would be more open to that view, but it's not.
I get it. I have a motion and a second on the floor. Being voted with Commissioner Doug Smith.
Aye.
Commissioner Stephen.
No.
Commissioner Smith.
Aye.
Commissioner Cos.
Aye.
I vote aye. 4-1 is the supermajority, so that motion carries. Next, consider motion that the rezoning request. Oh, I'm sorry. 2427, a rezoning request from R5 to R1.
All right. Resolution 2024-27, also known as case DEV 24-126, is to rezone the parcel at 17675 Evans Road from RR5 to R143, which is our 1 acre zoning designation. The Planning Commission did consider this at their November meeting. They voted on a vote of 5-2 to recommend approval of this request to this body. The Planning and Zoning Office did receive a valid protest petition for this request, so a supermajority vote will be needed by this body to approve it. If you have any other questions, let us know.
Anybody have any other questions for Amy or John?
What was the discussion in the meeting? I did watch it, but was there any? What was the response to the fact that this is actually in the land use plan?
I believe those that voted for it felt that they were following the land use plan, the future land use map, which is mixed residential, which is a much higher density designation than what the applicant is requesting. However, those members that voted against it felt that it didn't match the character of the surrounding neighborhood, and one felt that it was too far away from the city of Basel to support this type of development. He felt if it was closer to a public sewer system, it would make more sense to allow this high density of development there.
How far away from the city limits is it?
It's a little over 1,500 square feet.
So it's outside the 660-foot required rule, but it's less than a mile. So,
but it's less
about a quarter.
It's very close to the line.
It is, and that's what I said. It'd be, this is really 3 units to the acre plus multifamily. It's in the comp plan.
Allowable in that use. It's a mixed residential use.
Yeah, it's mixed residential. So if they did run a sewer line down there, there'd be a whole lot more houses.
That's true.
But there's not the likelihood that that's going to happen anytime soon, correct?
In the absence of those utilities, it's not likely that will ever happen.
And this, when we did the comp plan, I I missed one meeting, the one at Pleasant Ridge. It was at noon that day. We had a meeting. I didn't make it.
I was there. I was at that one.
Okay, but I made every other one. Every one of them. I missed the one at Pleasant Ridge. And character of the neighborhood was taken into consideration when we was doing the comp plan. That's why they come up with these.
And this is about 3,000 feet from a whole bunch of 1 acre lots already.
That's correct.
So just to kind of review our comp plan, the comp plan tries to drive development towards the cities where development would be more practical and where there is services like sewer and all the utilities. So it drives it towards the outskirts of Leavenworth or Lansing or Pacer or Tonganoxie. And it doesn't favor development out in the country, way out in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
And in fact, you have to, by the decisions we've made, you have to, if you put a development out there, you actually have to have your own private roads now. So we as a group have tried to go by that to try to drive where the construction and development in the county is near the services and near the roads. That's what the land use plan does.
And that's why I wanted to do the comp plan when I first got on this board.
Hadn't been revised for
It was done
25
in
years.
2008. It was never reviewed. This board reviews this plan every year. If there's something that needs to be changed, and if we done another comp plan now, it would probably be a lot more less dense, because there'd be more density on the house because of the battery plant, the dog food plant,
Down
all
south.
That. Down south would be nothing but 1 acre.
So, John, did I summarize the intent of the comp plan?
Yeah, I think in general terms, yes, that's very accurate.
So,
And this is less density than what we're looking at than actually what the comp plan was calling for.
that being said, I can understand anybody that lives there, their concerns.
Sure, just to reiterate, when staff gives a report, we're strictly speaking from the comprehensive plan.
Right.
There is no opinion based in that. It either meets the plan or it does not. So when we
And
give
And that
you
was
think
the
this board
whole
should
purpose of the comp plan, was to make these more black and white instead of them being inconsistent
And when we
trying to figure them out one by
layered
one.
it with doing the use.
And we hard surfaced the roads around this.
Right.
We did 174, 178th, and done some improvements.
Okay.
So
I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we approve Resolution 2024-27, a rezoning request for RR5 to RR1, considering the rezoning complies with the golden factors, and move to adopt the resolution. Case DEV 24-126. That's the correct one?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Begin voting on Commissioner Doug Smith.
Aye.
Aye.
Commissioner Knight.
Aye.
Aye.
I vote aye. Motion carries. Next, Resolution 2024-29, rezoning request from R5 to R2.5.
Resolution 2024-29, also known as case DEV 24-128, is a request to rezone the parcel at 19575 Mitchell Road from RR5 to RR2.5. The Planning Commission did consider this at their November meeting. They voted on a vote of 4-3 to recommend approval of this case to this body. A valid protest petition was received by our office, therefore a supermajority vote will be needed in order to approve. If you have any questions about the case, please let us know.
This was also in the comp plan as a 3 units per acre.
That's correct.
Commissioners, just a second. Commissioner Mike Smith, are you still on the line? I think we lost him.
Yeah.
So we need him to even.
It would have to be 4-0 without. I'm going to see if
He's back.
Are you back? Are you back, Mike?
Yeah, I'm back. Thank you.
Okay, we got you
And
now.
I believe the concern of the neighbors was that they didn't want 2 houses there, they only wanted 1 house.
I believe they feel that the character of the neighborhood is 5 acres or greater in zoning based off the comments that they have made during the public comment section. And that it was a platted lot intended for one house.
But even at 5 acres, there could be 2 houses on this lot with an accessory dwelling, correct?
That's correct.
So either way, there could be 2 houses there. So.
But I think that part of what was considered was that this has kind of been a developed area, that it's kind of inconsistent that this, all the neighboring properties are, and the homes that have been built have been, I think we've had something like this in the past, and, dividing it for one additional home. There's already an existing.
There's an existing home on the other side.
There is no existing home right now on the lot, but they intend to divide it, so there would be 2 homes. I believe that's the intention.
But if they don't divide it, there could be still 2 homes. It could be accessory dwelling.
Do I have a
And the
motion?
intent is to develop this, though. They are planning to.
I believe so, yes.
With just 2 homes.
They have submitted a concept plan showing a split, so if they split it, then both parcels would be entitled to a principal dwelling unit.
And still has to meet all the driveway access management, so.
But weren't they going to have a shared driveway? Was that
They
my
will have to have a shared drive. Currently, they can't get another entrance off of Tonganoxie. They have an approved entrance off of Mitchell, so they would share that entrance for the 2 parcels.
So what do you do if there becomes a Hatfield and McCoy situation? No, I'm just.
Yeah.
Right. Well, we've got a lot of places in the county that have shared driveways.
A lot of time.
And there have been some Hatfield and McCoy situations.
Right. No, I'm just.
I know of one.
Right. That's what I'm trying to.
You don't have to have a driveway.
I'm just for the sake of conversation and discussion.
I don't know that you can guard against that particular situation as properties change hands.
Right.
But they do have an easement. I mean, it's a legal right. I mean, whether there's a Hatfield and McCoy, it's their legal right to use that easement.
Well, I wish you could put it in a deed. You can't sell this to a jerk, but it don't work like that. So, do I have a motion?
Sure. I move that we approve resolution 2024-29, a rezoning request from R5 to R2.5. That the zoning request complies with the golden factors, and move to adopt and approve case number DEV 24-128.
Have a motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion?
So just to get it on the record, the Planning Commission did vote to recommend approval.
Correct. 5 to 2 or 4 to 3. I'm sorry.
4 to 3. And the arguments on behalf of those who were opposed was mainly character of the neighborhood?
Character of the neighborhood, and I believe there was concern about the safety of the entrance.
Safety of the entrance off Mitchell. Okay.
I have a motion and a second. Begin voting with Commissioner Doug Smith.
Aye.
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 I vote aye. Motion carries. That's all we have for planning and zoning, I think. Thank you, folks. Presentations and discussion items. Doug, do you have anything this week?
No.
Commissioner Stephen, you have anything?
No.
Well, yeah, I do.
Oh, you went to the conference.
Yeah, I was going to go over a couple things. The number one issue that the Kansas Association of Counties will be lobbying on, according to, we approved the 2025 legislative policy statement. The number one issue, and tell me if this sounds familiar, state mandates. KAC opposes all unfunded mandates by the state and we support state funding for any current statutory mandates. This includes opposing reallocation of local funding into the state general fund. KAC supports fee structures that will allow county departments to recoup costs associated with state mandated services and allow counties to provide mandated services to their communities. So that's the number one issue the county association is going to lobby on.
And I know Missouri passed a Hancock that says no more state unfunded mandates. It'd be interesting to know how many states passed a law against state unfunded mandates. I want anybody to know how many states passed similar to a Hancock amendment.
Well, I don't know how many states have that, but commissioners, the legislatures in Topeka have adopted. First, it was the I guess the truth and the budgeting, and then the revenue neutral. But what they didn't do is the Missouri equivalent of that is the Hancock Amendment. But the difference is the Hancock Amendment actually applies to the state as well as
also.
Whereas in Topeka,
Kansas.
they've excluded themselves from actually following those rules. So that's what that came from. They actually, during their legislative sessions, they have to send out notification to the cities and counties and other governing bodies on what the financial impact would be to them, or allow them to make comment before they can adopt it. So I think that would be a good start for Kansas as well.
So with Kansas retirement and Kansas police and fire, would that be an unfunded mandate as they keep increasing what we have to pay toward employees' retirements?
I don't think that would fall under the unfunded mandates because when we got in, it was an option to get in. Now, I think that it's a bait and switch with Capers in particular, because when we got in, it was a different plan, and they've amended it twice since then, and they don't allow you an option to get out at that point. And I think they should. I mean, it's like signing a contract on a house, a 4-bedroom house, and then giving you a 3-bedroom house and saying, well, you don't have an option to get out of it. So.
Well, when I started, it was 4%. The employee paid and the county paid 4%.
Right.
And we didn't have KP&F then. The Sheriff's Department was under Kansas retirement. And then since they became Kansas Police and Fire, and then that, what are we paying 25% toward retirement on Kansas Police and Fire retirees?
Pretty close to 25%.
Pretty close to 25%, and we're paying almost 10% on regular employees?
Yes.
That's not sustainable.
Well, Commissioner, you were in my office yesterday, and we pulled this up, and I did notice that the state actually reduced their amount of their contribution to Capers, increased ours. So at the same time, so that I thought
they did do the bait and switch. Yeah.
Yes.
So the state of Kansas employees they're paying less toward their employees than.
Well,
they lowered theirs but raised ours.
They lowered.
But
their
we're still paying
contribution
less
and
than what
increased
they're
theirs.
paying.
I think we're now paying the same.
Paying the same. And then they'll take a look at that and see how bad their investments are, and then raise it. And they have the option to raise it again.
Yes, they have adjusted it. I believe the last 4 years in a row they've adjusted it up.
And we all know that Kansas retirement Tier 3 is not worth having. So.
In this conversation with Capers and the poor financial decision, this has been going on since the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is incredible.
No, late 80s.
Late 80s.
Late 80s,
okay.
yeah,
But
yeah.
early, I was.
Yep.
It's just.
Tier 3 actually, the local governments fund it 100%.
Right.
So they don't have to get a return on their investment for it to work out. So what they're doing is taking that money that we give them, investing it, and taking those funds to help bail out the poor decisions they've made in Capers 1 and 2 and KPF. So I thought that was also interesting, whereas they charge the cities and counties and school districts, well, the schools are different, I guess, but cities and counties, they charge us the exact same amount for Tier 3 employees as they charge us for 1 and 2,
right.
even though it's a much degraded benefit.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a couple other items. On property taxes, the KAC supports property tax changes that would reduce the reliance of county government on property tax revenue to fund county services. KAC supports efforts to make the property valuation and taxation system more stable, predictable, uniform, and equitable for taxpayers and counties. We couldn't quite move them over to the constitutional amendment, but he said that that would mean that they wouldn't lobby against it.
What are we going to do instead of relying on property tax for local governments?
We're going to find oil, and then once we find the oil, it's going to pay for all of our bills. I don't know.
See,
I don't have an
okay.
answer for that. Number 6.
Going to have a recommendation. They ought to have a plan.
KAC eliminated their support for Medicaid expansion and replaced it with a new statement that they support reimbursement and waiting lists, programs that increase Medicaid reimbursements and reduce waiting lists for to decrease uncompensated care and ensure the financial success of the hospital system. And the reason they did that was out of pragmatism. They know that Medicaid expansion is not going to pass, so why be going and lobbying the legislators when we can actually get these disability waivers? We could actually get that through the legislature because we reduced 500 spots last session. Maybe we can get some of those funded. Maybe these legislators will vote for that, and maybe there's some things for hospitals that can be done. So that's another change. Another one, land use and zoning. KAC supports the right of counties to vote on unilateral annexation rather than right now they don't even have to talk to the counties. So that came up last week.
Mm-hmm.
Another issue is the countywide sales tax. KAC supports legislation that would allow counties to place ballot questions to countywide sales taxes on the ballot without separate legislative approval in Topeka. Right now, you have to go and get it through every time, and this would allow.
I'd rather see sales tax paying for things than property tax.
So anyway, if that passed, that would give us more flexibility as far as even getting the tax base. So those are some of the items. I won't read them all. Those are some of the big items. I think it's a pretty good statement. And I'm not sure who's coming on Friday to hear about it.
Commissioners, we've heard from Representative Beeler and Senator Klemp. They will be in attendance.
Okay. That's at the Council on Aging at 7:30 in the morning, correct?
Yes, Friday, 13th.
And the public can be there. I'm just making sure that people understand. Somebody asked me about that, and I said, no, it's an open meeting.
It has to be an open meeting.
Right. I said, no, it is an open meeting. We are
We're all going to be there.
No, I just was just reassuring that it is an open meeting and that the public is welcome to attend at 7:30.
I just think I would encourage all the legislators to come because, you may not agree with every county commissioner, but at least let's talk and try to work together, right?
We're supposed to be on the same team. Doesn't seem that way sometimes. I'm not going to be here, but I went ahead and met with Senator Klemp Monday for a couple hours, so he's well aware of my concerns. Vicki, do you have, or Commissioner Mike Smith, do you have anything for presentation?
No, I don't have anything.
Okay, Vicki, do you have anything?
Well, last evening I attended the City Commission meeting, and they changed over, and they have a new mayor. It will be Holly Pittman as of last evening. And yesterday afternoon, I participated in the governance board committee meeting for the KCATA, and they were working on updating policies. So that's what I have.
Okay. And I don't have anything other than I was going to give an update on the ambulance thing, but I already did that. So.
Yep. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and second.
Aye.
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 We are adjourned.